Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. What's going on, team? Johnny back with another live day trading session. Today is February 9th, 2026. It is 7:24 my time. Market will be opening in about 5 minutes. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Now it's time to get back to work, right? Time to get back into trading. All right. Looks like we are live. Perfect. Okay. If you guys watched our Sunday stock talk last night, you'll know kind of where our head is as far as what stocks we're going to be looking at. If not, then we'll give you a rundown on it as we can do our live stream. So, all right, link is shared perfectly. Okay. All right. And I hope you guys are all having a great start to your day. QQQ is down about 0.3% in the pre-market session. Yesterday we had our alerts set around 613. If it breaks above that, it'd be a little bit more bullish, or if it broke below, 609.50. It looks like it did break below down to 605. So we will have to readjust our alert here to see if does it go lower than 605 and begin to sell off more, or does it begin to kind of consolidate in this level. Bitcoin is selling off in the pre-market session. This line, this yellow line, is where it closed at on Friday when the market closed. This little crosshair here. So on Friday at 4:30 when the market closed, it closed at around 70,500. Somewhat of a flat line all weekend, pumped up to 72,100. And has now sold off to 68,800. So we will have to adjust this. It is below our alert of 70,000. So we'll put this down to 67,500. If it drops below that, we could definitely see some more selling pressure. And if it goes above 71, then we could see some more upward momentum. So that is where it closed on Friday, which means the markets probably will be down a little bit as well. Even now it's saying Bitcoin is down about 3% this morning. Okay, so I want you guys to be aware of that. Now, if Bitcoin does sell off, then MSTR will sell off with it. And we have our alert set for 125 for MSTR. If it breaks below 125, we can see MSTR sell off pretty significantly down to $100 again, which would be about a 21% retracement, which would give us an opportunity on MSTZ to push up even 40%, 50%. I mean, that could be huge for MSTZ again. Okay, guys, so I want you to be aware that we can have a good trade. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen, but we could definitely end up having a really nice, decent trade here. Go ahead and take this off here. And what is this at 17? Yeah, MSTZ sold off all the way down to $12.70 in the pre-market hours, and it's now up to $14.57, already recovering pretty crazy from Friday's low, even touching almost $15 in the pre-market session. A couple of our positions are doing pretty well. SoFi, we're up about 2%. Netflix, we're basically break even, down about 35 cents. Hood, we're up another 2%, or about $20. During our Sunday stock talk, I believe we're up $50 or $60. It was close to 5 or 6%. Or was it 3%? Actually, I think it was closer to 3%, about $60. So a lot of these companies pushed up in the overnight hours and are slightly selling off at the moment. So just a little update on our swing trades here. Let's see what we can get into. Market opens in 30 seconds. Oh, and Hood will be reporting their earnings tomorrow. We can bring that up here with the most anticipated earnings releases. Down here in the weekly economic calendar. Today we don't have anything substantial. Got Open Door Technology after market closes. Tomorrow before open we have Coca-Cola, CVS, Spotify. And then Tuesday after close, Robinhood, Lyft, Ford. Wednesday, Shopify and Humana, T-Mobile, McDonald's will be reporting their earnings. Wednesday after close, AppLovin. I know there are some people who have been tracking that. Thursday before open, Nimbius. And then after close on Thursday, Coinbase, Pinterest. And then on Friday, Moderna and Wendy's. So I'm excited for Tuesday. See what happens on Tuesday and Wednesday. You guys can see all that in our Discord. Looks like QQQ is selling off. It's down to 605. We'll see how low it can go. We're going to bring our alert down to say about 605 again, just to see if it hits this area. Or if we get some kind of retracement. Crypto just kind of flatline, doesn't seem to be doing anything at the moment. Gonna pick this up. 67.6. Yeah, so Bitcoin's holding very well so far. MSTR slightly selling off. And now slightly recovering. So good thing we didn't get into MSTZ just yet. We want to be patient, guys, okay? Just because we do these live streams the first 30 minutes of market open doesn't mean we have to take a trade in the first 30 minutes, okay? We have the entire day for our trades to set up and to either go in our favor or go against us. So no point in rushing. At right here, I would have already bought 50 shares, 100 shares. Typically, so now it's good to just take a second and wait, make sure we understand which direction, and direction can change very easily. We could think this is going to sell off and it could rally for the entire day like it did Friday, or it could sell off the entire day like it did on Thursday. So we're just being patient to see what direction it actually takes. Okay, looks like Bitcoin is getting rejected right off of this 45 EMA on the 5-minute, which is great confirmation that this is still very bearish. On the 1-minute, kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of getting rejected off of this 200-day moving average. Good morning, good morning. How you guys doing today? Andrew, what's up, man? In the comments, if you want to participate in the live chat, you have to be a subscriber to the channel, and that's basically it. Subscribe to the channel and you guys can chat with us in the live chat. I'd love to know where you guys are tuning in from. We do have people from all over the country and all over the world. We do have some people even in different countries in the world, so it's pretty cool. QQQ sold off to 605 and bounced right off of that level. We'll see if it continues to rally. Big push by QQQ. Beautiful big push. Okay. And remember, you guys can always watch that Sunday Stock Talk if you missed it. It's a weekly show that I host live every week on Sundays at 6 p.m. It's when the market officially opens for overnight trading. And we're up $60 or 3% during that live stream. Now we're up only about $6 on some of our swing trades. I got MSTZ, 15 shares. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's go back. Yep. I like this rejection off of that moving average. Very nice. I love to see some more downward direction coming from Bitcoin here. Looks like it's going to get it, which means MSTR will sell off. And there we go. MSTR pushed all the way down to 125.15. I don't believe I got an alert for this though. Below 124, above 135. So we'll see how low this can go. I'm going to bring my alerts down a little bit more. Which means MSTZ is pushing up to $15. Now this thing can push up pretty significantly, even up to 17 bucks. That's $2 per share. Even 10 shares, that's $20. Right? Just having 10 shares at 15 bucks or about $150 pushes up to 17. Now you have $170. That'd be $20. Now imagine on 100 shares. 100 shares, you're looking at almost $200. A nice 15% move if it pushes up that high. So be careful though. Looks like it is curling back over. But I have not taken a trade in this yet. I don't want to buy at 15 and it come down, 50 cents. That'd not be a good move. Averaging into this as it begins to push up would be nice. Doesn't mean it has to. But we are being patient here. Here we go. Bitcoin trying to rally here now. Here we go. Which means MSTR is trying to hold up above 125. And we'll see if it holds. Okay, Bitcoin with a strong candle. Big green candle. This is not what we want to see, right? We're going to come back up for another retest. This could potentially go up to 70,000, retest this green line here, our moving average. So we'll see if it does or if it gets rejected again. MSTZ back down to 1470. I have not taken a trade just yet, just because market direction is a little bit unclear. Bitcoin pushing. I think the overall NASDAQ is probably pushing. Yep, testing that moving average. So MSTR potentially can sell off when there's two things. When Bitcoin sells off and when QQQ sells off. But if they're both rallying right now, then there's no chance for MSTR to sell off at the moment. QQQ holding very nicely. Now remember, when QQQ or NASDAQ pushes up, usually it pushes everything up with it. There might be a few outliers of certain stocks that might not push up with QQQ, but majority it will follow it. If QQQ pushes up, usually a lot of the companies will follow. It's like if you think of QQQ as the ocean, and when the tide comes in and the ocean pushes higher, it brings the boats and ships up with it. When the tide goes down and the ocean begins to go lower, it usually takes all the boats with it. That's a good analogy for that. So QQQ retesting moving average. We'll see if we get a sharp drop here. Looks like we are on that 1 minute. Okay, here we go. Let's see. We're going to get some more selling pressure, or is this thing going to rip higher? Good morning. Raju in Germany. I'm looking SoFi to bounce back. I have 19 shares down to down $110. What was your average share price for buying SoFi? SoFi's at 21.18. So we're down $100. You must have bought around maybe 25. 19 shares and you're down $100. That's significant. Did you buy at 125? And SoFi does have the potential to recover. If it can hold above this moving average, then it could very easily recover. It's been getting rejected off of the moving average for a little while. But on the 30-minute, it is above it, retesting it as a support. So that's nice. Netflix tried to get that retest. Looks like it's below that on the 30-minute. Hood retested and holding. Love to see it. What else is pushing today? Oracle pushing higher. 26. All right, yeah, 26. So 18 would have been a nice area to average in. You know, if you could have bought more shares at 18, it would have brought your average share price from 26 down to maybe 22, 23, 20. Sometimes you can even average down to where you can get it $1 or so above the bottom, right? So if it's at 18.50, you could have averaged down so much you got to 19.50, and now you'd be in the money. That's why it's always good to have a little bit of extra money on you to be able to average down on certain positions. Nvidia pushing up. So Nvidia is a $4.6 trillion market cap. When Nvidia pushes up, it will actually send QQQ up with it, and then as a result, send everything else up with it. So here we go. It sold off, came back up, retested that one little red candle, got everyone a little nervous, thinking that it was going to sell off, and it's actually very bullish. So very bullish for QQQ. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin also pushing up, guys. It broke that 45 EMA that it was getting rejected off all morning. Now it's pushing up and it's slightly bullish. Excuse me for 1 second. I gotta blow my nose. Oh man, I swear I'm getting sick again. I'm not getting sick. I'm not getting sick. You've got to tell yourself that. I've been sick already 3 times this year. 3 times in January. I do not want to get sick again in February. Oh man. All right, all right. What are some other companies you guys are watching? If you're having trouble participating in the live chat, remember you just have to be a subscriber. Simply click subscribe to our channel and you can comment in the live chat. So if Bitcoin pushes up to 70,000, I would love to see if it gets rejected at that point and then take an initial position on MSTZ. MSTZ is now down to 14.26. So anyone who bought it at $15 is almost down a full share. And this is why it's so important to wait for confirmation to be in your favor. That's 5% already. Okay? It's okay to buy a few shares if you want, at these levels, and then maybe lock in profits. But don't go too heavy, because it's happened to me many, many times to where I get FOMO. I'm like, I'm going to miss the rally. It's going to push up to $17, $20, and then it doesn't. And I bought at all-time high, and now I'm down $1 per share on 100 shares, and I'm down $100. And then the rest of the day, I'm just waiting for this to recover. So make sure that we're calculated with the trades we take. Make sure we use our stop losses, and you don't have any impulsive decisions that you're going to regret later. Okay? Make sure we're looking at different time frames. Make sure we're thinking about different perspectives, different trade ideas. Not only what could go right, but also what could go wrong. Okay? It's very important. I've been practicing a lot more on being patient myself. Just because we go live on these for 30 minutes to an hour at market open doesn't mean we need to rush into a trade. We have all day to take a trade. Okay, Bitcoin is 69,500, pushed up very nicely. Holding above this moving average on the 30 minute. Still below it on the 1 hour and the 4 hour. Looks like it touched 60,000, which was the previous support level, okay? So I want you guys to be aware of that. Could bounce at 60. Here we go. Selling off slightly. It's going to retest this moving average here for Bitcoin. MSTR up to 129. For some reason my alert on MSTR isn't going off. Do you see that? It didn't go off at all. So I'm going to delete it and create a new one. That's happened to me more than once where it doesn't even trigger. Okay, MSTR curling over. Bitcoin also selling off. So that could be a good entry right around 1420, 1450. Now this would be an area where I consider buying. I would consider buying MSTZ for the upward trend, right? As you can see here, it pushed up, consolidated, curled over, sold off. Then you get consolidation for another change in direction to push up. Doesn't mean it has to. That's why we are patient. Now, in order for MSTR to get rejected, of course, NASDAQ would have to get rejected too, and it's not happening. NASDAQ is continuing to push higher, which will give reason for MSTR to push higher, okay? We need all of these components to work in our favor. We need QQQ to sell off. We need Bitcoin to sell off, and then MSTR will sell off as well. So here we go. Bitcoin beginning to retrace. It did retrace down to 69. Now we'll see if it begins to push higher. But MSTR is holding very well, up at around 129. And I've been there where I want the market to sell off and then it doesn't. Here we go. Big red candle on QQQ all of a sudden. Big red candle. And here we go. Still holding at 610. See if it continues to hold. But that was one giant red candle. Look at that wick. Look at that tail. Okay, MSTZ is up to 6.83%. It's up 7%, but not from where if you guys bought pre-market, still isn't as high as if you were to buy right here. I'm surprised MSTR hasn't pushed up higher already. Oh, Bitcoin's selling off. So do you see that? Bitcoin's selling off down to 69,000. But QQQ is holding up and pushing higher, which means MSTR is kind of in the middle, right? Here we go, MSTR curling over. A lot of consolidation at this level, guys. And there we go, MSTR. More selling pressure coming in. Now this wouldn't be a bad entry, right? If I were to take a trade at this right moment. We're looking at a long position. Buying at 1440, having a stop around 1425, about 15 cents or 1% for potentially it to go back up to these highs of $15 and say 10 cents. That's a 4.86% profit. So I'm risking 1% to make almost 5%. That's a 1 for 5 risk to reward. Even now, you get a little bit better of a risk reward. 1440. You can have a tighter stop if you want, if you don't want to risk the 15 cents. Because I believe MSTR is going to pump anyways, right? Bitcoin's going to pump, MSTR is going to pump because QQQ is doing very well holding around 610. Now if this begins to sell off, then of course we could see some more selling pressure. And with everything up like that, we're up about almost $20, almost 1% on our swing trades for the day. Here we go, QQQ curling over. A lot of selling pressure. People taking profits. Early signs of a possible reversal here. As you can see, it's overbought on the RSI, curling over. MACD opened up very nicely, now beginning to close and potentially curl over. So these are the plays we wait for. We wait for it to push and then get rejected if we do want to in fact short MSTR. Bitcoin's doing very well, kind of consolidating in this range too. So MSTR is pushing higher, just went up to 130. STZ selling off, so you would have got stopped out on this trade, right? So now, do you just lower it? No, right? Because I believe it can sell off more, so that's why it's good to be patient. Unless you do really well and you buy pre-market and you sell the top, I mean, that would have been a beautiful trade. Buying at 1446, selling at 1510, about 4% profit on that trade, right? But if you bought here and now you're down to 14, I mean, you could be down potentially $1 per share right now. So we want this to sell off. I want to buy it at 14, 13, 12 again if I have to. MSTR holding. Bitcoin pushing. Here we go. All right. QQQ selling off. We'll see if it holds above this moving average. Oh man. Is there any companies you guys would like me to take a look at as well? I don't mind. I'd love to share my thoughts on any companies you guys are watching or trading today. And why am I paying attention to QQQ? Because it mainly influences other companies such as big tech. If it finds support and produces another leg up, then it's bullish, which means a lot of other companies will go up with it. If it begins to sell off and breaks below the EMA, we get more selling pressure, then it could bring down a lot of the tech companies and other stocks as well. So oh, it almost, did you see that? It almost broke that 45 EMA. Looks like it's going to pump a little bit here. Some consolidation above that 45 EMA, that blue line. I believe it might break below it. It's holding very well. It's holding very well. Sound. We could take a look at sound. Now I used to trade sound back when it was like $10 to $20 mark. When we go to the daily, I traded sound back in this era, in pretty much all of 2025, buying at 8, selling at 10, buying at 10, selling at 15, buying at 12, selling at 17. pushed all the way up to $22. At one point it pushed up to 25, and we traded it in that range too. Then it kind of flatlined. You know, SoundHound AI, they don't have the best fundamentals right now. I believe they're actually negative in their earnings. I think they're losing money. Operating income negative. Net income negative. I mean, they're not doing the best. Let's just say that as far as bringing in money. But could we have seen a nice low at $6.90? Yeah, we did. We did see a very nice low around this level. Could it maintain above this level? Yes. Could it go higher? It's definitely possible that yes, it could go higher. But remember, it's been doing nothing but get rejected and selling off, even from $17. We were watching it within this range. It was a horizontal pattern, so you know, buying at $10, buying at $11 and selling at 13 was nice. We were able to do that a couple of times within sound, and then it broke below, and then it broke really low, right? So now it's at $8.66. It is above that moving average, which is nice. MACD is very oversold, so we could see a nice reversal for a nice uptrend. RSI is a little bit on the overbought side. No, it's like in the middle. So we could see some nice upward momentum on sound. Sound is going to have to break $9, it looks like. But if it could break out of $9 as a resistance, we could see this go up to potentially, you know, I'd say maybe $9.80, $10 or so. But we want to be very careful with it, because if it gets below this moving average, it's just going to continue to sell off even more. And it could go all the way back down to $7. So making sure you have a tight stop loss with this. Don't over leverage yourself. So when those pullbacks do happen, you could buy a little bit more on those pullbacks. Let's see, analysts are saying it's a strong buy. Average price target 11, 16, and 26. So it's definitely below all those price targets. But sound, it just doesn't seem to be doing as well as I'd like it to, right? It has to prove itself a lot more. It says a Five Guys partnership expansion, and they're in a few things, but SoundHound AI, for all of you who don't know, engages in conversational intelligence, offering voice and conversational intelligence AI solutions that let businesses offer experiences to their customers. Basically, in like a AI technology and library of over 100 continent domains. Basically AI chat, right? AI chat, you talk to someone, you get AI, you get some kind of voice. You're not really talking to a human. You know, SoundHound does play a part in that field. Now, there are other companies that have those, right? Earnings call on the 26th. Okay. So it could definitely do well when its earnings call comes out, or it could sell off even more. There's a lot of uncertainty for sound. And we did used to have it on our watch list, so what we'll do is we'll add it to our watch list for you. And I'm curious. I love to keep track of it. So I am going to set my alerts below $8.34 and above $9. If it breaks above $9 and holds, we can see some more upward momentum. If it breaks $8.33, we can see sound begin to sell off even more. QQQ doing very well, holding around 609, holding above that 45 EMA. It has not dropped below this just yet. So no sign of any selling pressure up right now. Bitcoin also doing very well, holding around 69,000, which means, look, MSTR pushed all the way up to 131, making higher highs and higher lows. Just kind of sort of trickling up, right? Creating this kind of ascending pattern here. MSTZ pushed down to 13.99, trying to bounce. But again, making lower highs and lower lows. Got to be very careful with these positions here. I think Bitcoin can push a little bit higher. Okay, QQQ testing 45 EMA again. Thank you. Would you buy Hood before or after the earnings call? I already have some Hood. I'm already in on Hood. We're up 3% or $25. I believe on Friday this was our biggest gainer as well. I think we're up $80 on Friday with this. So we're up like 6 or 7% on Friday. So it's only 9 shares, about $700, but I am already invested on Hood. Yep. I'm excited to see what earnings does. With that said, I'm looking for a big play on Hood. You know, if Hood even comes back up to the moving average from, say, 85 to this moving average here, 106, that's $20 per share, 23% profit, and I'd be pretty happy with that. You know, even on 9 shares, right? If you just said even 10, just say I had 10 shares, right? It's $200. So I'm excited to see if Hood pushes back up. And that's just the beginning. You know, if Hood can get back up to 153 levels, I mean, we're talking 80% profit, $60 per share. And having 10 shares could result in an easy $600 on just 10 shares alone. Of course, if you had 100 shares, you'd make a lot more. But yeah, I am already taking a trade on Hood. And we're currently at 3% on the day. And like I said, it was like about 8% on Friday. Because if you guys go back and watch our live stream on Friday, I was up $140. During the live stream, I think it was like 120. And then later in the day, it was $140. And a lot of that did come from Hood. Netflix back down to $80. SoFi holding around 21. Sound testing that moving average. If it gets below it, this can sell off even more. Looks like it is already beginning to happen. Some selling pressure. Do you see that? Gets rejected, it acts as a resistance. When it's below the moving average, it acts as a resistance level. When it's above the moving average, it usually acts as a support. So this was a very nice move for Sound on Friday. From $7 in the overnight session and pre-market session to $9. That was a 25% move in a single day, up $1.84. So if you bought 100 shares at 7 and you sold 100 shares at 9, you made $200 in a single day, right? Off of a very small trade, only about $700. Andrew, Friday live was a dub. Yeah, Friday was insane. Everything pushed up very nicely. Looks like QQQ is below that moving average on the 5-minute. Here we go. Let's see. Does it break below? Man, my nose is runny, guys. I think I am getting sick again. Let's see what happens. We can go back down to lows of 605 for another retest of those lows from today, or we don't have to. Looks like it's going to push up a little bit more. MACD is definitely oversold. There we go. QQQ back up to 609.50. A lot of consolidation. This is when most traders will put themselves in a bad position. They don't wait for direction. They think because consolidation, it means it's going to reverse. But this can very easily sell off as fast as it can recover. So we want a clear direction, right? At market open, it sold off. Everyone assumed it'd potentially go bearish and sell off more. Then it recovered and everyone's buying up here thinking it's going to go bullish, and now it's back down to where it's trying to consolidate and figure out, hey, can I hold above this level and go more bullish and push higher, or is this consolidation going to, you know, create so much pressure that it breaks these EMAs and the MA and begins to sell off? So this is a time to be patient as a trader. And I'm excited for Hood's earnings tomorrow. It's 8:05. We've been live for 40 minutes, so we'll stay on just a little longer because we're trying to see what the overall market's going to do. See Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pushing higher. Look at that, up to 69,000. Remember, I said we were going to see this get retested. If it retests this and get rejected at around 70, then we will see more selling pressure. If it holds, then obviously we will see this begin to push higher. Okay, so it's going to be retesting 70,000 in just a minute. Or does it drop below 68,000, right? And even if it gets above 70, we're going to need to see this push up to like 71, potentially break 71 and 72. So Bitcoin has a few resistance levels it's going to have to pass. But we were just talking about this. I don't even want to consider taking a short until this pushes up to this moving average and we get a test on it. It could potentially get rejected like it did earlier in the night, or it could push right through it and begin to push up and make new highs. MSTR up to 132. For some reason my MSTR alert isn't working very well. 132.72. $132.57. Let's see. Come on, alert. Wow, MSTR up to 132.57. See, it just hit my alert. Okay, it is working now, finally. So MSTR pushing up to 132.50, which means MSTZ is now down to 1365. That's why it's very important to make sure we know which side we're trading on. MSTU pushed up. So this is for the Bitcoin bulls. It's up 12%, or about 60 cents per share. There we go, retesting. BSAS, Dow crossed benchmark of 50K. Your views on the S&P. Will it cross and trade above 7K to force cuts all shorts, since NASDAQ is heavily short compared to Dow? Well, the Dow, holds obviously like 30 major companies, whereas the NASDAQ or QQQ holds 50% of its holding in technology companies. And right now, tech stocks have been taking a pretty significant hit as far as, being oversold or overbought, and, people taking their profits at those highs. The whole AI bubble thing is still uncertain for many people. And so, yeah, the NASDAQ is definitely made up of more tech stocks than the Dow. 7K though for the S&P 500. What's a good ticker for the S&P? Let's go ahead and go to markets. The S&P 500 index is at $6,900, so almost 7,000. The Dow did cross over to 50. I see that. NASDAQ's at 23,000. The NASDAQ and the S&P are actually doing better than the Dow as far as this chart here, which is interesting. Yeah, very interesting indeed. So yeah, I mean, I could see the S&P going up to 7,000 pretty easily. Does it have to happen a day? No. QQQ still pushing up to 610.80. So actually no change in direction. It's still holding up as being bullish. Crypto at 69.5. Means MSTR is up to 132, almost 133. So yeah, I'm glad we didn't take a trade on MSTZ or else we would be down right now. And a couple of weeks ago, I was all for it. Buy right now, buy, before we missed out on the rally. Pushed up 3% and it's now down 6, almost 7%. It's down $1 per share. So I'm glad I did not have an active trade on that. Please see charts of SPY. Oh, there we go. That makes sense. SPY. Oh, duh. I have it right here on my actual chart. Yeah, SPY went all the way down to what, 670? Now pushed up to 691. If it can hold above this moving average, then it could go up to, you know, close to $700 again. I don't know why this looks like this. It looks different than my other one does. Very weird. So yeah, very bullish, holding up above this moving average. You see this last time it held above the moving average, we got these uptrends. And then when it got rejected below the moving average, it really sold off. So as long as it can hold and maintain above the moving average, this green line, then it will remain bullish. So not bad, basically doing the same thing QQQ is doing, almost identical. QQQ, gonna make another high, 611. Man, I gotta blow my nose again, guys. I'm sorry, I apologize. All right, guys, sorry about that. Okay, check this out. Early stages of a possible reversal. We'll see what happens here. 610 could act as a support though, right? Old resistance levels can act as new support levels. So it pushed up to 610.50 as a resistance, right? Came back down, tested this as support, made a new high, and now this can actually act as a support now. So we'll see if this holds as a support. Here we go. Looks like it's going to get rejected. Could come all the way back down to the 45 EMA if it wants to test this again as support. Holding. A lot of consolidation in this area. We could just see the markets run all day. It could be bullish all day long, right? Got up to 612.52 in the pre-market hours, so we're looking at another resistance at around 612.50. You guys see that? So we were in the red, and now it's in the green. Making sure that we're aware of the direction that you are wanting to trade. Just because you want to see something sell off doesn't mean it has to. Just because you want something to push up higher doesn't mean it has to. And that is something that we should understand, right? The market's going to do whatever it's going to do, but we need to do our part by making sure that we trade in that direction, right? I wanted to short Bitcoin today. Can I still? Yes. Can I get a better price point from $15 to $14, now down to $13? Yeah, I mean, this thing could sell off back into the 12s, the 10s. And then when that happens and we get confirmation that this is beginning to push up, like in this scenario, right? Pushed up from 18 to 20 to 25 to 28 to 31. This is the trade that I want to take on the upside. I don't want to trade the bottom and keep buying the dip and averaging down on a bad losing trade. So when this does begin to make sense, I can then jump on it with 100 shares and make a decent amount of money. But right now, Bitcoin is holding true. Bitcoin is staying bullish. You know, it's still making lower low or higher lows and higher highs. As you can see, that it's creating its own trend here, its own channel, an upward channel. And this can continue to happen all day, right? Where it bounces off of these highs and lows, retests, you know, not so much there, but basically retesting. So we'll see if it pushes up to 70, comes back down. And sometimes you could trade with these channels very well, right? It comes up here, sells off. You can make a few bucks on MSTZ on those small little dips. But right now, it looks like MSTU was a nice winner. 473 up to 536. It's about 13% profit on MSTU. MSTR from 125 to 133. 6% profit, or $7 per share. So just kind of creating its own little channel for Bitcoin. QQQ still pushing higher. So yeah, I mean, it's possible that QQQ pushes up to 612.50, gets rejected and sells off. It's also possible that it continues to push up higher. Again, just being patient with it. Was it the 1 hour? Was it the 5 minute? Yeah. So we still have a little ways for Bitcoin to retest 70,000. And when it does, then we could potentially see some really big moves to the downside or to the upside. So you guys have any questions, any comments, let me know. We'll probably get ready to end the live stream here, and I'll keep you guys up to date if I do end up taking any trades today. But as of right now, we do not have any active day trades. We got some swing trades, but no active day trades just yet. Hood's up 4.5%. We're up $32, or about 4% on the day on our hood position this morning. Netflix down about 2%. So I may consider adding some more to this this week if it does stay down at these levels. SoFi up about 1.5%, nothing crazy. AGC down about 1.5%. So hood's our winner so far on the day. Again, go back and watch our Sunday Stock Talk from last night. If you didn't already, go back and watch the live stream from Friday. And how can you do that? You can go to our Discord, first link in the description. It's 100% free, lifetime access. And you can watch all of my past live streams, not just the one from Friday, but I have live streams going back all the way to May of 2024. Oracle's up 10% on Oracle. Nice move here. Sold off to 132. Now pushing up to 157 and continuing to push higher. We'll see if it holds above this 45 EMA. Nvidia pushing up nicely today. Now Nvidia, if Nvidia gets rejected around this level, which it has in the past, you guys see all this resistance here? Ton of resistance around 192, 193. If it gets rejected, we can see some more selling pressure, and that could bring down the market as well because it has such a high market cap. Check out NBIS, NBIS, NBIS. Yeah, this is another one. This one does report its earnings on Thursday. Looks like it's above its moving average. It bounced right off of that moving average, so I love to see that on the daily time frame. From 76 to 91, it's already pushed very nicely. Already up 20% from that move. Potentially go even higher, up to 141. So I like how it's showing support here around 76.50. But there's a lot of resistance around 101.50. It's going to have to break that resistance, right? A lot of resistance around 100 to about 101. So let's see. Does this push up a little higher? It's above that moving average on the 30-minute. I love to see it. Very bullish today. It's up almost 6%. But only if I believe the NASDAQ continues to push up. NVIDIA continues to push up. A lot of these other tech companies still staying at these higher elevated levels. It's important for these smaller companies too. And remember, you don't have to trade super aggressive today. You know, it's not like you have to go all in on these positions. Start with a share. Start with a few shares. You know, put yourself in a comfortable state of mind knowing that if there is a significant dip on any of these companies, you could buy more. You know, always keep a little cash in reserve. Never go full port 100% do or die on these stocks, okay? So NBIS, we just called it, right? It's holding above 76. 100 is a previous resistance. It could break out of 100. It could also kind of get rejected or flatline and consolidate around that $100 mark. So there is still some room for this to push up higher, not just to the resistance level. That's 10% profit, but it could also push up much higher than that. That would just be the first, you know, take profit, and also some concern for many people who are, you know, trading this or invested in this. So, all right. QQQ, same thing with QQQ, right? Testing 612. We'll see if it holds. It looks like it pushed up to 612.24. Are we going to see more selling pressure now that it's at that, you know, pre-market resistance level? 612.52, right? It's a common resistance. We'll see if it begins to sell off and get rejected, or does it push higher? Bitcoin already selling off, breaking that channel. You know, you could say that there's a channel like this maybe now. So we'll see if it breaks back below this moving average. It definitely can. Or it could bounce and push higher. MSTZ up to 14. So a nice little retracement. So yeah, I'm still uncertain about taking a trade shorting MSTR right now. You know, that would have been a nice little short right here. Now, if it breaks below this moving average and begins to sell off more, then yes, then that would give me a little bit more validation on taking a trade for MSTZ, right? Get back above this moving average, begin to push higher, back up to those $15 levels. If MSTR sells off more, if Bitcoin loses support here and sells off more. So I'm going to do my part, set my alerts, and I'll keep you guys updated when it breaks above, right? Breaks below or breaks above one of these alerts here. Same with QQQ. Getting rejected off of 612, so we'll see what happens. All right. MSTZ moving. It's moving, but I'd hate to see this get rejected, right? And go back down. Bitcoin retesting. We've been live for exactly 1 hour, so I appreciate you guys showing up today with us. Looks like Bitcoin is potentially going to break that support. We have another area for it to test, which is 68,800. If it officially breaks that level, then we could see some more selling pressure for sure. All right, appreciate your guys' time. Like always, remember, smash that like button for me. Watch your position size and lock in those profits when it makes sense. And that'll help us all to end the year on a green note. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you all later in a recap video and for another live day trading session tomorrow at Market Open. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys later.